Welcome back to Beyond Gallery Walls, a podcast for artists, patrons, and art lovers. My name is Patrick Stillman.
And I'm Redden Winter. And today we are going to talk all about what artist websites. Yeah, artist websites. So,
do you think that they are even necessary anymore for artists?
I think that artist websites are absolutely necessary. I think that with the way that the world is going right now, obviously it's quite digital. We're in a digital world. But for me, it's like the first thing that really shows me that an artist is taking and putting a certain kind of weight to themselves as an artist, right? That they have this website, and it's like, okay, here's this thing that exists and says, I'm an artist.
I think it says that you're professional.
Right.
You know, just like when I go to business mixers, it's still important to carry around a business card or have some sort of contraption on your phone that acts like a business card.
Right.
Because I think that artists need to have a website for galleries, for if grant funders, anyone who they want to make sure perceives them as a professional working artist.
Well, and it presents, it gives you some people a place to go. I know a lot of people use social media in the same kind of way, but it's different. Social media disappears and your followers go with it, etc. Your website is really sort of your home base, if you will. It's where digitally your home base, not your studio practice. And it's a way to where do you send people who are interested in finding out more about you? Your website. And there's all sorts of different versions, right? You can have ones that are a little bit free. There's free websites, but you can get the more paid subscriptions and have more things sort of going on with your website, like actually selling your art on it.
And as the sirens go off, this means that it's time to underscore how important this is. I think that a lot of younger artists might think, well, I've got social media. But I think that social media has a different kind of marketing opportunity for an artist to reveal who they are on a more personal level. That's not necessarily the same thing as having a professional website.
Right. Yeah, the social media can be quite casual. Again, though, only so many people see every little post that you send, right? With your website, if you send somebody to the website, they will see it.
Right.
Versus in social media, you put a post out there, maybe your followers see it, maybe they don't. So again, it's it really is like a home base in terms of bringing those people back and to see, what you have done, what you're doing now, how to make contact with you. It really does present yourself as I am calling myself an artist.
Yes. Yeah. I think that there's a few sections of the website that are important to underscore those things. I think probably the most common, right, is making sure that there's an artist bio and artist statement. And there's also confusion about what that is, and that maybe is another topic, but artist bio is something that is a third-person narrative about who the artist is. Like something that could be read in a gallery setting or a museum setting that reveals, what that artist is about. While the artist statement is your personal, this is who I am. And I think this is where a lot of artists get tripped up. So I want to just say, when you're thinking about creating a website, really think about it as a professional setup. Who are you talking to? Because websites, artists get tripped up on, are they talking to their friends? Are they talking to patrons? What are they expressing? And may even get it mixed up with social media. So I'll see oftentimes statements are like, I love sunsets and pina coladas on the beach. That is not a way to professionally set yourself up.
I've always thought of an artist statement as really the statement of why I make art. really, or what's the driving force? What's the exploration? What is, or, you know, there are people who will change up their artist statement really around every body of work, because that changes a little bit, right? Depending on, you know, in this particular body of work, I'm exploring, you know, energy and the memories I have of my dog. I don't know, but that's what the artist statement truly is. It's like your statement of why you are doing the things that you are doing, versus like a biography, which is a, you know, sort of a summary of a little history snippet of Patrick Stillman or Red and Winter, right? That basically helps people see a little bit of the journey that you've already had as an artist. I think it's great that you mentioned that about the needing it for the galleries to sort of read within the scope of a show or exhibition. I think of the things that are on my website personally as data for anything that might come my way in terms of collaborations, press opportunities. It's a lot easier for somebody to sort of go, oh, I'll just grab this off your website if you're okay with that. And it's like, sure, if it's updated, sure. Yeah, that's perfect. And then they can just use that as part of the article that they're writing about you, or the announcement of a new exhibition, et cetera, that they can use that for that purpose.
Yeah, I think also the artist shouldn't create a website that is so complex that they have to maintain it all the time to keep it updated. I mean, certainly you want your CV, you know, your listing of where you're exhibiting and your upcoming shows or whatever to be there. But you don't want it so dense that, you know, every little sale, now you have to go in and change all the pictures in your website because this one's sold, this one's no longer available. I think that defeats the purpose of having a website that is of more of a professional caliber. And that is, so we have the artist bio statement, we have images of key artworks, we have images of the artist. I think that's very important to be able to see.
And that is something that people often forget. And it doesn't have to be like a headshot of your face. It can even just be you surrounded by your art or working in your studio, but some sort of touchstone to where people know that you're real.
Right.
You know, that there's this real person that's behind the art, I think is truly important. But yes,
yeah, because the connection is always between real people.
Yeah.
And so buyers, patrons, galleries, they all want to know and see that presence of the artist alongside of their work.
Right.
Yeah. Some of the other elements, I think, well, I know for my personal artist website, I have included sort of what I call the vault, which is maybe no more than 20 pictures of works that I have created that I feel are significant works. Could just be 8, you know, it doesn't have to be 20, but I wouldn't do more than 20. I think it should just be a small collection of works that really showcase your hand. And then I also think it's key to have a contact page, you know, which includes how people can get a hold of you. And even if you are not wanting to put your home address because you work out of your house or something like that, you should at least say the city and state you're in, give an email. If you do have a phone number that is associated with your business, then you'd put that in there. If you don't feel comfortable putting your phone number, then just make it about an email contact, and then once you vet whatever conversation is serious, then you can decide how you want to communicate with that person.
Right. Yeah. I will admit my website not that long ago was quite dense. And there was all these different pages and all these different things, and let me tell you all about my shipping process, and let me tell you all about my you know, how you purchase my art and what to expect, like all these different pages for that. And I have been condensing down. I'm not completely where I want to be yet. It's still a work in progress, but I am condensing down because I was one of those artists who had my art up there in such a way that truly, if something sold, I did need to go in and take it off and update it just the way that it was built, the particular website. And so what I've done, not just with, as you mentioned, like a vault thing with the 20 sort of key artworks, since I work sort of in three, what I think of as three distinctive bodies of work, even though they're all abstract, what I've done is sort of a very similar thing where there's like my favorite 15, 20 pieces of that particular collection, not every single piece that ever was made of that collection, but those sort of represent the collection. So I don't care if they sell or not, they're my sort of my key pieces, and then maybe I go in and update them every quarter, especially after I've sort of worked on that particular body of work for that quarter, then I might update it for that, but I'm not having to go in now and update every single week or month, depending on, you know, how many sales I'm having, which was extremely, that was time consuming. And I was like, it's consuming way too much. So that's what has helped me sort of condense things down a bit.
That's really smart, I think.
Yeah.
I have a very complicated relationship with the arts world, right? I'm an artist, I curate, or I run a gallery, I write an arts column, we do a podcast. So there are all these other elements. And so the last time I went through my website, I'm like, how do I incorporate that without taking away from the focus that this is about me being an artist? The website, the focal point is me being an artist. And so I go back and forth, and over time I'll change how I present that information. But I do think that for anyone who's involved in the arts, if you are actively engaging in things outside of the creation of the work, for example, you are appearing in a publication, you've been interviewed, they're showcasing your art, you get a television spot because you're doing an art walk and they ask you to be on camera, or any of these additional elements that aren't about creating art but can support you as an artist, it's okay to include those things.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't put them on your front page, but I would find a way to include that. Maybe if you have a page listing, you know, your shows, your exhibitions, your art fairs or whatever, you have a page of sort of activities, you can always put images, or, you know, the video, a picture of that magazine with a link to the actual article,
Right.
or something along those lines. I even think that maybe a picture of you with the gallery owner or you with a key patron, that really adds a nice little flavor to that section of the website as well.
And it goes back to what we were talking about in terms of like there's a person behind this, and it
Right.
sort of shows the connections that are going on. I love the idea of like it even being embedded in the CV, to where, you know, if a link exists, there's a link on your CV list. Not obviously a CV that you would send out to like a gallery or something like that, but for your website, a quick and easy way for people to sort of go and find you. I have like a press and features page, and that sort of is what helps me, is that I just sort of, it's just a press and features page, but it's not connected to the homepage. It's really like when you go to the About Me section and you see the CV and the artist statement, there's a link to the press and features page. So if people want to deep dive, they can go to that and look at all the different things that I've done. And then I do have things that are very important on my homepage, the things that are consistently happening, i.e. this podcast. There's a little square with that podcast, because that's more, it's not a one and done, it's recurring. So because of that, I feel like, okay, that's a bit more, you know, it is static. So then I don't have to go in and remove, because if you start like putting, oh, you know, vote for me here, and oh, I'm in this exhibition, and I'm here, and I'm here, then you got to go in and you got to update that all the time, because it looks terrible if you go to an artist's website and they're like, the big headline is some show that happened in 2024, not even 2025.
Yeah.
You know, 2024. It's the same, like, drives me crazy when the copyright is not, like if it's February now and it says 2025, that doesn't bother me. But if it says like, I've seen 2022, I've seen 2019, and I'm like, come on, like try. But it's those little things. So I think it's really smart to think of what things can sort of always be there, and like that's your homepage, and then the other things, how you can sort of work it into where you're not having to go in there and consistently always go, oh, I gotta update my website again. That leads me to a question on pricing. So, I mean, some people use their websites as an art shop, and that would have obviously prices there. What is your recommendation when we're just talking about a portfolio where it has an image and the name and maybe a size? What's your recommendations on that?
I think there's two thoughts on that. One is, especially for artists who are just starting out, why not put the prices out there? Why make it difficult for a patron to figure out if they can afford your work or how it, financially relates to them? But as a gallery owner, I'm on the other track, which is like, I don't want to see the prices. I don't want people going to your website. If you haven't already committed to like a set price point on pieces when you're working with galleries or when you're selling up by yourself, if there's a variation there, then that's no bueno. So the gallery,
especially if it's a big one, right? If you haven't gone and updated your website and you've got some like old pricing from 3 years ago versus what your stuff is selling for now, it's very easy to find people on websites.
Yeah, I really choked a couple of months ago. I sold a piece for several $1,000s from the gallery, and of course I promised to send along the artist's information to the buyer. And so I went to the website and looked, and there was the piece they bought, and it was listed for several hundreds of dollars less. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I can't allow them to see that they bought something that it looks like that we overcharged them.
Right, and it wasn't. It was just that the website hadn't been updated in a while, and it was an older price.
Right? And the artist didn't. The artist priced it, and the artist didn't think about what they had on their website because they didn't really keep that updated. Anyway, that situation got resolved, but that's the kind of complications if there's prices there and you're working with galleries or art fairs or anyone who might be representing your work. So if you're just starting out and you don't have those relationships, maybe it's a good idea. If you have a storefront on there, well then of course there's going to be that.
Right.
But if you're working with galleries, then you have to consider what that means to that relationship and whether or not those prices should be there. In fact, some galleries will say you have to remove that if it's not consistent.
I mean, it should be consistent.
Right. Yeah, it should
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
And I think also, going back, I keep talking about professional website. And so as a gallery owner, or I think as a potential foundation who's going to fund you, they're the key people that you want to see and read this website, I feel. And so you don't want to fluff it up with too much information. You want to prove that you are on your game, you're serious, and for the gallery, you want to prove that you are behind your work, that you're marketing it, that you have a patron base, that you are ready to be a part of that trifecta of gallery, artist, and patron. That you're ready and you're serious. Right. And then for funders, they want to go there and they want to see that you are a qualified individual, that they are gifting money to, that you're going to be responsible with it, that you're going to execute things that you said in the grant or whatever you wrote up to them.
Right.
So if I went down the path of I do serious work about LGBT identity, but I see there's a funding source for some San Diego landscapes or something, and I live in San Diego, and I'm like, I do landscapes or whatever. If that funder comes to my website, they're going to see that this is a little off, and that might actually throw the whole grant for me.
Right.
So you want to make sure that what you're telling the world, when you put it out there in grants and interviews and that sort of thing, that it is what you're saying on your website as well.
Right, that is reflective of that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that is really, I'm sitting here pontificating my own website going, what do I need to update and change? I do think that it is something that we're constantly, as an artist, we're constantly sort of in the struggle, right? Because we're being told, be personable and be casual and be a real person. And sometimes that can lead to a website that isn't professional enough. If you are trying to go for grants and go for gallery representation, or even be considered as part of the conversation around that.
Right.
That your website needs to be at a certain level. And being, with the CV, as you're mentioning, the CV, the artist statement, the bio, some sort of portfolio page. But it's quite interesting because there's quite a narrative saying like, oh, just show yourself more. And I think that even I have sort of fallen into it a bit and went, this sounds corny, or what I mean? Like, this is silly. Like, I don't want to put this information on here because I do want to, I sort of do all of the things. So I want to be in conversation with galleries and grants, but I also have patrons that purchase directly from my website. So I have done, what I'm doing is I have very regulated, if you will, art shop openings that are not open year round. They're just 6 to 9 days, or maybe a 2-week that the art shop is sort of open for the public to come in and see, and then it gets sort of closed down. So I don't put my prices on my portfolio, but I do have like a secret back end page, which I call my living catalog, where I can send patrons to that year round and be like, well, hey, it's not because you're my patron, you're my VIP, you've signed up for my email list, you have access to this thing, and that does have the prices listed. But my prices always match, and when I do find inconsistency with that, like, oh, I forgot a 5, or, whatever it was, I do correct that and change that. And I will say for me personally, even though you shouldn't necessarily take all this time-consuming energy to go in and update your website constantly, and if you see that happening, maybe you need to sort of alter what you've got on there. I do think artists need to get into their website though, like once a quarter, end of the quarter, the minimum, just go in and look at stuff. And I think that is helpful because you catch problems right away. So that would be my advice.
That's very good advice.
Yeah.
Something that came up for me while you were talking, you were mentioning, what you were saying, how you were saying it. I do think that in spite of all this talk that I've been pushing about professionalism, I do think authenticity is really important.
Yeah.
And so if this is how you communicate through your art and through your life, then that should be present in your website as well.
Yeah, a connecting voice. A connecting voice between you as the artist, your artwork, why you do things. I do think that there needs to be, I don't want artists to go in and all of a sudden be like, taking and now I'm going to be this professional person and talk like this, when that's not who you are and that's not what you do. But I do think there's a way to not be so on the other side of things where you're just spilling all the tea about yourself, unless that's part of it. I mean, if that's part of your art and that's part of your thing, but yeah, there just seems sometimes we're trying to figure out the balance, right? between being authentic and myself and professional and being your best friend and please buy art from me, right?
Right.
There's
Absolutely.
like that different sort of change in sort of the story or the narrative. So I guess as we like sort of close things up here, wrap things up, any last like advice? We've got artist statement, CV, biography, some sort of portfolio.
I would say that I think artists who are listening to this podcast should take some time looking at artists' websites of artists that they admire, artists who are in the same playing field as them, and consider how they're presenting themselves and whether or not you feel that some things we talked about today fit with what you see, and take those lessons and then review your own website and see if you can make any changes that will just make it a much stronger presence of your artistic creativity.
My cogs are turning right now as we've been thinking like, yeah, I should probably take that off of my page. I don't really need that. For me, I would say that if you are an artist who doesn't have a website yet, and you've really been putting that off and you've just sort of been using social media, I would definitely say maybe write a list of just a couple of things that you want your website to do, and then based off of that, decide what kind of website provider you want to go with, because each provider is different. There's ones that are more, even when you look at them, you can tell they are more specific for a storefront. And then there are other ones that are not. And so I would say, because that's what everyone always asks me, well, what website provider do you use? And I'm like, well, I use this, but I've used a lot of different ones over the past 8 years, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses. So really sort of deciding, if you want a storefront, then, are you going towards a shop or a Shopify or maybe a Squarespace, or if you just want really beautiful images and not all of that, maybe you're going to go with a different provider. So I would just say maybe not 20 goals, just your top 3 goals that you want your website to do, and then go with the provider that will give you the best rate for what you want to be happening. That would be my last advice.
One little caveat to all of that is take a look at how that website provider will present on mobile.
Yes.
Because older artists are so focused on what it looks like on a computer, but most of the world is looking on a phone now.
Yeah.
So you want to work on a website that can show you what's happening in both worlds, so that people on the phone aren't seeing a mess. Some of the older website services, were not configured to automatically transfer over to phone, and so it gets clunky.
Or if they even automatically do, like sometimes you spend all your time, I do this on the computer, mapping out this beautiful website, and then I go in and I look at it through the vision of the cell phone and go, oh no, like the images aren't large enough, there's problems, the way that the text is laid out, it cuts text off, and so yeah, very good advice. Yeah.
So I'd be curious, for the people who are listening today, if we missed anything, to let us know. If there is some interest in how to, take this a step farther, or maybe how to use the same information that we're doing about websites to pull it into hard copy portfolios or anything like that. We'd love to hear from you and give you some interesting topics for the future.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it, as well as always let us know if, again, like on your own website, if there's something specific that you use that you find to be very helpful. We're creating a community here, so thanks for tuning in.
See you next time, Beyond Gallery Walls.